Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Olivia Newport with ERG, and I'm supporting today's webinar logistics. Before we get started, let's review a few housekeeping items. Audio is available for this presentation through your computer's mic and speakers or by telephone. Your call-in number, as well as your access code, is in the control panel box on the right-hand side of your screen. All attendees have been muted to minimize background noise. If you have a question during the presentation, please type it into the questions box on the upper right-hand side of your screen. We will have a dedicated time to answer questions at the end of the presentation. If we don't get to your question, we will try to respond to it in the FAQ page on challenge.gov. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties, please contact us and we will try to troubleshoot your issues. We also wanted to let you know that the slides will be made available on challenge.gov following the presentation. And we also wanted to give you a heads up that we'll be having some poll questions in today's webinar. So be prepared to answer those questions as they come up throughout the presentation. And now here's Denise Shaw, Senior Innovation Advisor with the EPA's Office of Research and Development.
Thank you very much, Olivia. Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for participating in the informational webinar today about the Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge. I'm going to go through the agenda very briefly today, just so you know what's in store. We'll do a very quick welcome introductions. We'll do an overview of the challenge. I'm going to talk about eligibility requirements, timeline, and results. Talk a little bit about ongoing project support during the duration of the challenge, and then we're going to turn it over to Tammy White, and Tammy White is with challenge.gov, and she's the senior analyst for the challenge.gov program, and she will provide an overview of challenge.gov. If you haven't already visited the site, I encourage you to do so. That is where information about this challenge will be stored. So let me begin with welcome. Again, thank you very much for taking the time. We hope that you find this webinar useful. If you have questions during the webinar, we will try to answer them. If you have questions that come to you after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to us. And who's us? Well, I'm sitting here with a team of folks from EPA that are all here to support you throughout the challenge. Myself, Denise Shaw, again, I'm with the Office of Research and Development and EPA's lead on challenges and prizes. But here with me also is Emily Hall, Dan Bader, and Mark Riesinger. You may see emails from them throughout the course of the challenge if you stay with us, and just wanted to let you know so you're familiar with their names. So that's sort of the first slide. Now we're going to try out how the polling is going to work. And polling, of course, is optional. If you choose not to answer, that's okay. But so before we jump into the details of the challenge, we'd like to know a little bit about you, because I think that will help us to be able to provide resources and support you throughout the challenge. So you're going to see two polling questions, and after your reply, we will display the results so everyone can see them. The first question, where are you located? In just, you'll see a couple of options. And then the second question to just describe your organization. Great. So can everyone, I guess everyone can see that. A lot of folks from the Northeast and Southeast, Midwest. Great. Great, thank you all. And we can share this information with you after the challenge if you're interested. Okay, then I'm going to go on then while the second, oh wait, we're waiting for the results on the second question. So we'd also like to get a sense for what kind of interest this challenge is bringing and who's involved. If you've read the challenge on challenge.gov, you know that we are looking for teams to pull together sort of an interdisciplinary groups with expertise from lots of areas, and so everyone's welcome, and I think everyone has a role here. So local, state government was 38%. Great. But again, everyone, there's a lot of space for folks with different expertise and talent and in this challenge, so I'm glad to see the diversity. Okay, next slide, please. So just a little bit of an overview on the topic. I'm sure any of you who are on this call is familiar with the really serious issue that nutrient pollution is for the United States. But just as an overview, there's a lot of economic implications for excess nitrogen and phosphorus in our waters. Not only economic, but human health problems associated with it. Hypoxia, another example of low oxygen in water bodies, harmful algal blooms, and the list can go on and on. The important thing that we all are aware of is that it is a very serious problem for this country. It's one that we are making progress on, but we need to make more progress on. And a challenge of this nature has been identified as a useful way to collect some really necessary, to get some really necessary expertise and experience as we move forward collectively to deal with the nutrient pollution issue. And of course, over the last 50 years, the issue has escalated from lots of different sources. Agriculture, urban, sewage and septic, atmospheric deposition is also can be a significant source of nutrients. So we have pulled together a number of agencies. Actually, the agencies got together in around 2015. A group of agencies came together: EPA, NIST, USDA, USGS, NOAA, and NOAA IOOS came together with a desire and intention to collaborate our efforts to address nutrient pollution. And along the lines of, along the timeline that we've been working together, a shared vision came out, a desire to accelerate widespread use of affordable, high-performing real-time nutrient sensors, demonstrate the value of the information from these sensors in decision-making, which is what the focus of this challenge is, and to promote sharing and integration of data into existing water monitoring efforts. So a very powerful vision when you realize that it is shared by a number of very organizations that have big investments in supporting the country and you in trying to deal with nutrient pollution. This challenge, the Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge, is the latest in a series of challenges that have been conducted over the years with this interagency group. The challenges have included sensor development, data visualization, data analysis, and most recently the Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge. I might add that we also have been working with other organizations running challenges in similar veins, Tulane University and the Everglades Foundation. We consider partners, and both of those organizations have made really nice efforts to run challenges over the past couple of years. The goal of this challenge, the Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge, is to design and implement approaches that use nutrient sensors and the resulting data and information to improve decisions and actions for more effective nutrient management. Let that sink in for just a second, but we have heard from stakeholders, from states and many other organizations, that as sensors become more available and as more organizations acquire sensors and as more organizations are collecting data from sensors, there is a real need to have best practices, good examples, pilots, whatever we want to call them, of how you can effectively use the data coming off of the sensors to make decisions. And that is the goal of this challenge, is to look for really exceptional examples of projects and teams that are able to execute those projects in order to be able to do that. There is a total prize of $100,000, and it will be shared by up to 2 teams. You'll notice that we've introduced the challenge.gov logo on the bottom, and challenge.gov is where the challenge is being posted and where you'll find resources, and Tammy will tell you a lot more about that later in this webinar. So who's eligible to participate? Communities and organizations of all sorts in the United States. So the prize money will go to representatives from organizations in the United States. Teams should be currently engaged in water quality monitoring and have some experience using sensors to manage sensors for water monitoring, managing data, and communicating information. So we're looking for organizations, teams, efforts that have some investment and expertise already. And participation in stage 1 of the challenge is not a requirement for participation in stage 2. We did run stage 1 of the challenge, which we're asking for what we termed action plans. So paper submissions of designs and approaches and strategies for how this might be accomplished. And that we used that to help refine the intentions, the goals, the requirements for this challenge. But if you did not participate in stage 1, that is not a detriment. You should, we welcome and encourage anyone to participate in stage 2. I'm going to go through the requirements now for the challenge. You may have some more. You may have some more questions. We'll have time for questions, but you can also submit questions to challenge.gov and refer to the FAQs, which you should watch because we will update them as more questions come in. So here's the requirements. Effective use of nutrient sensors. 2 or more nutrient sensors that measure phosphorus and/or nitrogen. At least one of those should be what we're terming low cost, which is not to exceed $15,000. And we're expecting those sensors to be deployed and collecting data for at least 3 months, not continuous for 3 months, but over a period of 3 months, beginning this month, in March of 2018. Another major requirement is data management. We are requiring the teams to format the data to be Open Geospatial Consortium data compliant. Links and explanations for those organizations are available embedded in the challenge and also in the FAQs. Also that they follow interoperable data protocols to ensure the data can be shared. And then also that the data be accessible to the challenge administrator via web services. And there's guidance for how to comply with those with those requirements on the challenge language. A clarification here is that, because we've heard from some folks who are concerned about data confidentiality and privacy, is that it doesn't have to be made public. So this is not, it is not required. It's okay if you want to make your data public, but it's not a requirement to make the data public. But it is a requirement that the data be accessible to the challenge administrator via web services. We have also heard from the community that that might be a big bar for some of the teams, and so we are allowing teams to have until November to make their data available. You may have already finished your data collection. That's fine. It gives you some time to make it available. But we have listened to some folks as we've been formulating this challenge, and there is some concern that enabling it for web services might be a big challenge. So we're trying to work with you guys on that, and it just needs to be available by November 1st. And then the key to this, one of the real pillars, one of the real most important components of this, is we are looking to see how the teams are going to include the sensor data from the sensors into decision making. And we don't have any hard and fast requirements on how to do that. That's up to you. But we're looking for the best examples of how sensor data can be included along with other variables, other data perhaps, other sensor data even, for how to make decisions or to support communities in how to make decisions about nutrient management. You do not need to have made the decision. The decision does not have to be made, and you don't have to see results. But we're looking for really, because we were concerned about how much time that would take, but some really good packages pulled together of convincing convincing the judges that the sensor data is going to be useful in making this decision. And extend that a little and say that of course relates to where you put the sensor and how much data you collect and all that, but that package of sensor data was needed, is useful, and will improve informing a decision that has to do with nutrient management. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. Next, please. Registration. We are asking the teams to register for a couple of reasons, but most importantly so that we can support you, so that we know about you, so that we can reach out to you, so we can be in communication with you. We would like registration turned in at least 2 weeks prior to data collection. You can register whenever you want, but we need to have your registration information at least 2 weeks prior to data collection. And as I said, we will be reaching out to you. We'll be communicating with you. We want to hear from you. And we want to connect you with each other, too, to some extent. So we are hoping to get that information from you in time to do that. The actual information required for registration is available on challenge.gov under requirements. And then you submit the registration information on Submit Solution tab on challenge.gov in the challenge. I'm going to go through the timeline really quickly. Here we are at the launch of the week of the launch of the challenge. It launched on March 1st. Today's the webinar. All the content, all the information between March and January 31st is kind of up to you. I hope that's what we tried to indicate here, is that you need to be collecting data for your specific problem, for your specific decision, over a 3-month period, sometime between now and when you turn your results in January 31st. So this challenge wraps up January 31st, 2019. Registration, as I just said, we want to have it as soon as you can send it in, but certainly within 2 weeks before you begin data collection. You will have an opportunity to revise your registration information as part of your results package later on. So don't worry about getting it perfect. The registration information will not be evaluated. It's just for information and hopefully supporting you. The results package is due again January 31st, 2019, and winners will be announced later in the spring 2019. At this point, we have polling questions, numbers 3 and 4. So now that we've stepped through the challenge, we'd like to hear from you if at this point in time, if you are planning to enter the challenge or need more information. And then if you plan to enter the challenge, the second polling question, which is, if you plan to enter the challenge, describe your state of preparation. Again, these questions are so that we can try to figure out what your needs are and how we and the other agencies, other organizations might be able to support you. Great. Thank you for your responses. Let's go back just really quickly to the results package. If you register, you'll hear a lot more and get a lot more details about this. But basically, we're looking at January 31st, a maximum of 30 pages. You can have links to other information. And we will be looking for a revised registration information, information about your data architecture and a summary of your data, the actual decision that you're looking to inform with the data, and what potential value it has for improving nutrient management, and then some description of the QA/QC that was deployed or that you followed throughout the project. And again, there'll be a lot more information as time goes on if you register about this, the results information. But we wanted to let you know what you're what we're walking into. I mentioned ongoing project support. We have got a couple of ideas about how we might be helpful. We'd like to hear from you if there's other ways, and feel free to email us. But we will be having at least monthly webinars on topics that you guys feel you need support on. The option for project check-ins, where you can either twice a month or once a month, whatever works for you guys, where you can sign up. It's optional to have some time with us or folks from the other agencies to talk about what your progress is, and if you have any issues. We have a newsletter that will give updates on some of the projects and some of the topics that we know are important to you. There's also some resources that, as they come up, to other informational webinars, other programs, other links to websites and things like that that might be helpful to you. And then also we'll have updates on your projects, and if you want us to post them, and other things going on an EPA webpage, which we will share with you. So at this point, we have our last two polling questions for you on the webinar. If you plan to enter the challenge, what do you foresee as your greatest obstacle? Number 5. And then number 6, if you plan to enter the challenge, when do you anticipate you'll begin data collection? Great. Great, okay, so that was the information I'm going to cover, but before I turn it over to Tammy White with challenge.gov, give you an opportunity to send in any questions that you might have, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. We haven't seen any questions come in, so what, maybe, whoop, here we got one, sorry. Is there any, here's a question from Nina, is there any assistance?
So the question from Nina is regarding just matching organizations into teams. And so I think this has a lot to do with the team formulation side of things. And that's a great question. So on our end, on the challenge administrator end, we could consult and kind of help you in kind of formulating what kind of your needs are if you need that kind of help. But we don't have a formal kind of like matching process. We really want that to be sort of on your end. Of course, we've got those resources that Denise mentioned that we can point you to, and some of those include sort of a list of past organizations or sensor developers, and we could definitely help to provide you with those. And we're hoping you could use those resources to kind of form those connections on your end.
We could also look into if there's something, if there's a place to post your interests for team expertise. Mm-hmm. We could look into that. I'm not aware of anything we've got right now.
And it could be something also that takes the form within like the newsletter. For instance, if you wanted to share that you are looking for this certain expertise, part of the goal of this whole process is that we are trying to form a community of practice within this innovation space. And so we want to hear if you're looking for a certain a need and would like to express that in the newsletter.
We could share that in the newsletter. let's see, there's a question about quality assurance. Any model quality assurance guidance for participants? That's a great question, Ed. We had not selected one model, but we could include information about models for QA/QC in the newsletter. I'll make a note of that. But we hadn't, a couple of things come to mind, but let me talk to some folks and then we can include that in the newsletter. Okay, Brianna, are there any recommended sensor manufacturers or models for this project, and is there any financial assistance to purchase the sensors and data management system? We are not making recommendations about sensor manufacturers, but we will, one of our FAQs does refer you to a previous challenge that had a number of participants who have developed sensors, and you're welcome to reach out to those folks. But this, being in the nature of a challenge, we do not have, we're going to fund the best projects at the end, and so we do not have, right now we don't have funding to support sensor acquisition. As I have mentioned on a previous webinar with this for stage 1, our conversations with different sensor developers have been encouraging that they are interested in piloting their sensors. So I would encourage you to reach out to different sensor manufacturers.
And just coming off of that question, we have another similar question relating to sensor acquisition and the funding and the prize funds. And so just to clarify, the prize funding is awarded after the challenge, and those funds are up to the winners to be used however they wish. And so applicants should be prepared to fully fund their project.
Right, it's different than a grant. Right. Yeah. Okay, let's look at one more.
We have plenty of questions. This is great.
Yeah. This is a question from Nina. Is the focus of this challenge non-point sources of nutrients and managing those, or are you open to wastewater treatment plants participating? Yes.
All of the above.
Most definitely. We have until, this is from Beth, we have until November 1st to submit data, so the judges don't need to have real-time access to the data. That's correct, Beth. In the beginning, we thought that that would be a great opportunity for everyone to make sure that we could see the data in real time. But as we've heard from the stage 1 teams, that might be a big bar for a lot of folks to get over. And so data need to be available for us to take a look at by November 1st. So we built in a lot more time for folks to work out the web services solution.
We have a question here that is there an email for the newsletter inclusion? And part of this, an answer to that question is through registration. The registration info that you provide will be included, will be using the emails that you provide in that registration to send out those newsletters. And even I would encourage, if you're even considering applying or to the challenge, to register, even if that means just getting those newsletters. You'll be having that that access therein. And if you aren't planning on participating in the challenge but still want to be included in the newsletter, we can find a way to include you there too.
Yeah, you can see if you look on the challenge, I think my email, right? Mm-hmm. Denise Shaw is shaw.denise@epa.gov is included in on the challenge.gov site description of the challenge. If you'll email me, I'll make sure to get your email to Dan, who actually is the one who sends out the newsletter.
Good question.
Slides from previous webinars on a recorded version, are they available? Yes, they are available. They're on the challenge.gov site from the previous webinars that we had supporting stage 1 teams.
Yes, and we'll make sure that we upload those slides and any presentations that are available for you guys to download on challenge.gov.
Great. Where is the FAQ on the website? Oh, FAQs are going up on the website after this webinar. I apologize if I wasn't clear about that. I'd forgotten that we wanted to hear your questions,
Right.
So that we can build those into the FAQs that we've been drafting for the past couple of weeks. You'll see them next week. They'll be on the website. Is there any restrictions on methods, hazardous versus non-hazardous? Well, we don't. I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Hazardous versus non-hazardous. We need you to be measuring N or P. So not sure. If you want to, Joshua, if you want to send me additional information about that question, we can get back to you later. All right, well, I think that's probably enough on the FAQs. Again, we will consolidate these. We will figure out how to respond to these and include them in the FAQs, which will be on next week. And if you have any other questions, you can email them to me. And so I thank you all for your time on that. Now, one of the important pieces of this challenge is challenge.gov. And we are so fortunate that Tammy White has agreed to come on and participate on this webinar and give you an overview of challenge.gov and how to navigate it. So, Tammy, if you're ready, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Hopefully you all can hear me now.
Yep.
Great. So thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about challenge.gov, which is a platform that is being used to support this challenge. We're very happy to support it. Challenge.gov is the official listing of federally sponsored prize competitions. We have supported over 100 agencies and to date have run 825 competitions on the platform. The site is easily searched and sorted for competitions that users are interested in finding, solvers like you, potential solvers like you, are interested in finding. In the screenshot that you see, you'll see Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge Stage 2 listed prominently there in the center. As additional challenges are added, this challenge card or chiclet may move down the page a bit, but you can always go to the search box on the upper right-hand side of the screen and type in Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge to find it. You can also use the sort feature on the left to sort for challenges by challenge type, by closing date, ending soonest, ending latest, by prize amount. So there are a variety of ways that you can search for challenges on the site. As a visitor to the site, you have the ability to search for content across the site without registering. And that includes all of the challenge details that are made available currently. And so if we go to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit more about what you'll see on the challenge details page. So this is the anatomy of a challenge. You can see at the left the logo that you've become familiar with, and there under are a couple of different options that I want to highlight, items that I'd like to highlight. So this is the challenge details page, and right under challenge details, you will see reference to discussions. Every challenge that's hosted on challenge.gov has a discussion board, and I know that someone had previously asked a question about ways to find individuals with whom you might consider teaming. The discussion board might be a way to feel folks out, to see if people might be interested in that, and then you can figure out ways sort of offline or outside of the discussion board to connect and see what's possible. So I would offer that as an option to folks who are interested. But the discussion board is a great place to come to put in your comments or questions. The challenge management team is alerted as posts are published in the discussion board. So I really encourage those of you who are going to be participating to use that as a resource and to check that frequently. Just underneath of the discussions item, there's a note that says solutions. And so this is where any solutions, typically, any solutions are that have been marked as visible to the public, this is where you will see them. So at the time that you submit your materials, you'll have the option to make your materials public or to make them private. By default, the materials that you submit are private. And when you submit, you will get a message at the top of the browser saying, congratulations, you've submitted. But if you look at the solutions number, it may not necessarily change. And I want to point that out because, again, the solutions that you will see there are those solutions that are made public. So as long as you see the congratulatory message at the top of your screen, you know that you have submitted successfully and it won't be seen there because it has not been made public. Down below solutions, there's a link to review the rules for the challenge. Below the rules, you can click to submit your solution. And then over on the right, there's just all of the details about the challenge. So you can see who's posted the competition, how it's categorized, what skills and interests you might have that relate to the challenge, all of the agencies that have partnered with EPA on this challenge, they're all available there. And what's key also there are the important dates that you need to have, so the submission dates. This challenge closes at 11:59 p.m. on January 31st, and after that time, the system will automatically close submissions. So I encourage those of you who are submitting, to get your submissions in early in the day if you can. Our team is here to support you if you have any technical issues with challenge.gov. If you have issues uploading your materials or you need to reactivate an account that's been active for a while, or you're having problems with password, we can help you with that. At the top of the challenge.gov website, there is a link in the navigation to contact us, and so you can always use that as a tool to request technical assistance. And then again, down below, more information on the prize competition. And on the right, information on the prizes. And eventually, this is where the winners will be highlighted. So if we go to the next slide, I will talk to you a little bit about what your submission will look like. When you're ready to submit your materials, you can go ahead and click Submit Solution. If you've not previously created an account on challenge.gov, you will be asked to create an account, and all that challenge.gov requires is a username that you create, a password to associate with your username on challenge.gov, and an email address. So when you register to create your account, you will receive an email asking you to confirm that you've made the request to create an account, and once you confirm, your account will be created. So again, those are the only things that challenge.gov requires for you to create an account: a username and password for your challenge.gov account, and an email address so that we can confirm your request, and also so that the challenge organizers can notify you if they have questions or would like to let you know that you've been awarded. So once you've created your account, you will have the ability to submit your materials, and the submission page allows you a number of different fields that you can complete. So first is the title. You can give your package a title that you choose. It can be a team name, it can be any other reference that you like. And along with that, you can upload an image or a logo or a graphic to associate with your team. You would do that where it says number 2, image or logo. Just underneath of there's a button that says add image. You would click that and the computer would give you, you would have the option to choose where you want to pull your image from. It would upload into a media library. You could collect that image and select it. The external URL is a field that you can use if you wanted to point out to something that helps to inform the challenge management team about your submission. With some challenges, users have pointed out to external sites such as YouTube how-to videos or GitHub repositories. It is an optional field. Under that are solution files, so there may be other materials that you would like to upload, such as your registration materials. Challenge.gov will accept a number of different file types, text files, Word, JPEGs, PDF, all of the usual suspects. We do not accept multimedia files, so for those you would need to host those elsewhere and include a URL that points off to those. And then down below is the description, and here you can include some brief information that sets the stage for the submission that you are putting forward. And then if we go to the next page, next slide, at the bottom of your submission page, you will have a couple of options. I mentioned to you that you have the ability to make all of your materials, to keep all of your materials private or to make them public. So when you get down to the bottom of the submission page, you'll have the option to hide the contents of your submission from all others on challenge.gov. You can see that's clicked by default, and it says, by checking this box, you will hide your submission and all associated files from public view. Only the agency challenge managers will see this content. If you uncheck this box, all challenge.gov audiences will see your materials from the Solutions tab on the Challenge Details page. Now, you do have the option of making your submission visible, just the description, and maybe your challenge logo and your submission title without showing any associated files. If you wanted to do that, you would uncheck the top box, and then you would check the second box. But again, the way that the system is currently configured, by default, all of your submissions will be private. And then lastly, before you can submit, you must check that you accept the terms and conditions of the challenge. So the button, Submit Solution, will remain gray and inactive until you actually check that button. So make sure that you review the terms and conditions before you submit. The terms and conditions are located at the bottom of the Submit Solution form. And those are the basics for using challenge.gov, for creating your account and submitting materials. Again, if you have questions about any technical aspect of using challenge.gov, feel free to go to the Contact Us button at the top of the page and submit your question, and we would be happy to assist. And with that, I would ask if anyone has any questions on how to use challenge.gov. One thing that I will point out is if you have previously created an account on challenge.gov, but you've not logged in for more than 90 days, your account has been temporarily disabled. And if you are trying to log in and your account is disabled, you can just go to the Contact Us page and send us a note, let us know that you're trying to access your account and provide us with your information, and we can reactivate that for you very quickly. In order to keep accounts enabled, you must log in at least once every 90 days, so keep that in mind. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Well, Tammy, while we're waiting.
Sorry.
Tammy, just while we're waiting, if I noticed there's a button on each challenge that says follow. Can you talk a little bit about what that does if you follow a challenge?
Well, the way that our system was originally designed, the follow button would allow you to get updates and information from the agencies about the challenge as they made it available. That is a feature we are still working to fine tune. So for now, I would say probably disregard that and pay more attention to the discussion board for all of your information and updates.
Thanks, Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I don't think any questions have come in for Tammy. Was there any question? Was someone trying to say something on the line when I cut them off earlier?
It was just me, Denise, saying that there weren't any questions.
Ah, okay. Thank you, Olivia. All right, well, great then. So let me recap just a couple of things before we let you go a little bit early. And thank you, Tammy, very much. I think challenge.gov is a great tool for learning about this challenge, but also following all the challenges that the federal government has been running over the past couple of years. It's been a great opportunity and a great vehicle. So I encourage you to take a look at it, even if you're not going to enter this challenge. I'd like to leave you with a couple thoughts. One is the thrust of this challenge. The real point here is demonstrating how sensor data can be used to inform decisions having to do with nutrient management. Okay, so it's not about it's not about scientific research. It's about decision making having to do with nutrient management. It's one point. Another thing is that, as we said before, the slide deck will be available on challenge.gov. You'll also see some other webinar slide decks from when stage 1 of the challenge was underway, and you're welcome to use those as a resource if they're helpful. The FAQs will be posted next week, and they will reflect the discussions that we had today. Keep an eye on challenge.gov, where we will do edits as well as the FAQs. We look forward to your registration information, and we will be in touch. Also, send me an email if you want to just get the electronic newsletter, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if I can't answer your question, I'll put you in touch with the folks who can. So I guess that's it, and we'll give you back some time from this hour, and we appreciate your interest, and we look forward to working with you over the course of the year, and hope that you will participate. So thank you all very much.